Live, all things sci-fi and fantasy. Join host John Yarrow and special guest author David Darling.
Okay. Hey, well, welcome to Live, all things sci-fi and fantasy. We're welcoming David Darling, a Amazon best-selling author of a number of novels, and so I'm going to let you take it from there and introduce yourself. Pass that.
Well, thank you very much. First, hello and greetings to everybody paying attention and who will be watching this later. I'm Dave Darling. I'm a Canadian author. I've had a full life so far. I've been in the military for almost 2 decades. Now I'm still employed with the federal government in a managerial role. And for the last, I guess it's 6 years now, I've been writing. And I just haven't stopped. One day I had shoulder surgery, and I was off. I was going to be off for about 4 months. And so I picked up a book. As you can tell, I like to read. And I picked up a book, and I read it, and it was absolutely horrible. I couldn't believe it. So I'm like, oh, I could write a better book than that. And my wife says, what else are you going to do? You got months to go. And she goes, here you go. Handed me my laptop, and then off I went. And I've never looked back.
That's awesome.
And that was 6 years and 8 novels. And I'm just finishing up my 10th, actually. I got another one in the bank, so keeping busy.
Is that a sequel to the Egyptian Enigma?
The one I'm working on right now is not. It is a military thriller with a vague hint of CIA counterintelligence spy espionage. So just in the middle to set the record straight, and then I'm diving right back into the military aspect. So I'm playing to my strengths, obviously. So
there you go. So I know you've written some time travel, which is science fiction. What kind of novel got you excited about science fiction and wanting to attack that genre?
Oh, for sure. Well, for those of you that don't know, I started reading in about 1984 when I was 14. So, the rest of you could figure out my age from that. Yeah. I've never gotten rid of a book. I've kept them all. And I grew up reading science fiction fantasy primarily for the first, I'd say 10 years. And it was extensive at the time, and the thoughts and the process. It was an escape, and boy, did I jump in, and I really enjoyed it. So that part was just ingrained in me from I would say a young age, So, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to write a time travel novel. Because boy, do they have a special place in my heart. I'd imagine you as well, John.
Yeah.
I wanted to write the story I've always wanted to read, and have it just on the edge of technology, where the physics, the math, the science, and everything is valid, but you just add that little twitch in there to make it just believable.
Yeah.
And you're like, this actually maybe could happen one day, or just enough to get you roped into the story enough. So that's where I went with it.
So what first drew you to the concept of time travel? For your story vehicle?
Well, for myself, it was I've seen the movies. There's I don't know how many movies and Doctor Who episodes. The TARDIS on the subject. I believe. I can't remember the author, but I could probably find it, but it might take a bit. I believe it was Greg Bear who was writing about time traveler Heinlein when I was really young, and the concept was just amazing. There was another author. He had a 5-book series. I can almost re-see it now. Michael, can't remember. He wrote about an engineer who went through time, and time travel engineer by a Polish name. So close. It's right up there. So anyway, but there's others. thousands and thousands of books on the subject. So they just were always very interesting. So and it just, that subject alone just drew me in. And with the advances in technology now and quantum mechanics and, separating a photon, like, come on, this stuff's writing itself. Is it going to be able to happen one day? I don't know. I guess we're about to, somebody's going to find out. Maybe not in our lifetime. But.
Well, they're talking about the new quantum computers actually talking to other dimensions. So,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's interesting.
They lost track after 11 dimensions.
Yeah.
So they don't know. I don't know how they can measure that. I don't know what they'd measure it with, but somebody who makes a paycheck and studied at university a lot longer than me must know those answers. So good for them.
So when you're writing science fiction, how much of it do you make real versus not real? Are you worried about it conforming to what our current understanding of the world and technology, or are you taking liberties, or how do you do that?
For the two time travels, by the way, in case you're wondering, I don't know if hopefully this won't be backwards. It is backwards. Edge of Time was my first time travel novel, and the sequel, Edge of Eternity,
there you go,
came out after. So in both those novels, except for the actual time travel part, everything is factual. So, I'm talking about a farmer in the very late 1700s. What kind of crops did he grow? Well, I researched the crops. Corn was prevalent and tobacco around the Boston area in the States. What did they do? What were they switching over to? Well, they were switching over to indigo plants. That was the booming crop. Why? Because denim was coming out at that time and they were dyeing all the jeans blue. So, I would research it down to, you need... for every 8 to 10 chickens a farmer has, you need a rooster. that's so. And if I'm writing about a farmer and how many chickens he has, well, I'm going to make sure the facts are correct.
Yes.
Will anybody else know? Maybe not. Do I know? Yeah, for sure I know. And
so I have a friend who writes westerns. And in the 1800s, and she says you'd be surprised how many people come up and say that's not right. So she had to spend after her second novel. She said I did all my research because I got tired of people coming up and saying that's not what really happened.
I knew a writer who talked once about a character was he drew his Glock and placed the weapon unsafe, and then proceeded to do whatever he was doing, and he got chewed apart by a reader because there's no safety on a Glock, right?
Yeah.
So, know your topic, and I've always remembered that he didn't have a military or a gun background, so it is excusable. But for myself, places, things, research, like my latest novel, that came out last year was The Egyptian Enigma. It's an action adventure, treasure hunt story. And boy, did I get into the research. Every single thing I mentioned every historic fact is correct. Every measurement, you name it, it is perfect. So, in that regard, there's obviously some liberties writers take to make a story work. They have to do that, also to protect some privacy issues, I'm sure. So I'm loving it in that regard.
Now, I was a ARC reader for the Egyptian Enigma, and so I really enjoyed that book. I think the main character's name was Ryan, and he was set back in your city, right? Where you live?
Yeah, I made him
Got to write what you know, right?
I'm a Canadian author, and I've been getting the slack for where's your Canadian content stories, Dave? What's going on? And I'm like, you're correct, because almost all my stories up till then have been throughout the States. So it is what it is. So I started the story in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and went to Newfoundland, and then we branched out to England and all that, Egypt, obviously.
Yeah. So. I see my friend Jeremy's on. He's a fabulous musician and content creator. So welcome to the show. So So can you walk me through your writing process? I mean, how do you go from that idea to a manuscript, right? And you've got 10 of them now, so you've got to kind of have a refined process, I would imagine.
For sure. The number one answer is apply your butt to the chair.
Yeah.
It's easier said than done in many cases. If you want to write a story, anybody, that's your dream. So, okay, let's turn that dream into reality. How do you do that? Well, let's say a 90,000 word story. That's daunting. How do you do it? So you break it down. Maybe what if you're just commuting? You're taking a GO train. You're taking a bus. You're on your way to work every day, 40 minutes. What if you just wrote 1 page a day? Just 350 words a day. That's it. That's all you wrote, to and from work. Next thing you know, after a year, 14 months, you're done. You got a whole novel. So you make time. I give myself that time. When I was working at 7 o'clock in the morning, I'd get up at 4. Give myself an extra hour and a half each morning. It gave me time to write. And that part I did. As to how I do it, there's the pantser, there's the plotter.
Yeah.
Okay, I've tried plotting. I've wrote a 26,000 word outline for a story once.
Wow.
Huge. I had chapter by chapter for one of my police thriller series. I had it all laid out throughout the whole book, how everything was going to go. And it was a serial killer. And then I was 3 chapters into my my outline, and then I realized the character's not going to act like that, because I already wrote him in book 1. I know how he is.
Yeah.
He's not going to react that way. He's a police officer. He has to do it this way. And then I just slowly branched off, and then within 3 chapters, all that work for 26,000 words gone.
Yeah.
Gone. It's a memory. So it is what it is. So
for my publisher, I had to write an out. I had the first book and part of the second book, but they wanted to see an outline for the whole trilogy before they would take me on. So I sat down, I wrote a trilogy, the outline for the whole trilogy, but at the very end I reserve the right to change any and all things based on character development.
Perfect. Oh yeah, you gotta. They grow, they get personalities, and they make decisions on their own near the end. And you gotta, if you don't listen to them, you're up a creek without a paddle. So
yeah, it's like that last line of a job description, and other duties as assigned. Right.
Oh, perfect. I got to remember that one.
Yeah. So because we're in the middle. My wife was helping. I write with my wife. She does a lot of the editing. And in book 3, she's like, this is not what you had in the outline. I said, you need to go to the last line of the outline.
Yes, for sure. Your marriage is also a joint partnership, so that's kudos to you.
Oh, thanks.
And your lovely wife. So
we have a good time. It's been a long evolution from the beginning, right? I was the main writer, and I still lay down the first track. If you compare it to music. And then she comes in and adds other instruments and helps arrange and, do all that stuff and keeps me honest. So it's a good combination. We enjoy working together. There's some cussing and discussing, but at the end of the day, it turns out okay. So
can't go wrong with that.
Yeah. So how do you balance world balancing versus character development, or world building versus character development, I should say, in your books? Do you focus more on one or the other, or?
Well, I would put it as more of a delicate balance between plot and the character building. I could have the best plot in the world. I could have jumping back in time thousands of times or forward, multiple universes, all splintering realities, all I want. But if the plot can't carry that, then nobody's interested.
Yeah.
Or I could have the world's best plot, the greatest ideas in the world, but if you can't find yourself being sympathetic or being endeared towards any of the characters, nobody will care. So I find there is a delicate balance between them. when you couple that with the world building and the technology or whatever we're talking about, an action adventure, or this could apply to any genre, by the way.
Yeah.
I find I think the reader will know. They'll know, and they'll let you know right away. So yeah, this guy don't care. I skipped over his parts. Oh, well, that's good to know. So. I'd rather hear that in the beginning stages than after it's published.
So what authors influenced you the most for your writing career, and just in general, I guess, but mostly for how you want to write?
There's directly and indirectly. So indirectly, I would definitely have to say the authors that influenced me most are the ones those stories I can vividly remember 30, 40 years later. And for me, that's Stephen King. He's he's ingrained in my psyche right now for, The Stand, The Shining, you name it. He's been there and done it. We all know his work. That's the kind of thing that can stand the test of time. And he's still writing. Like Mr. Mercedes was, I thought, talk about character development. That was the one. And more directly, throughout the last 6 years, I've had help and suggestions, writing advice, mentoring from other authors. Jonas Saul, huge, just, I was talking to him again today about an idea and a concept, letting him know what I'm working on. He's so supportive. I've had Simon Gervais help me out. I've talked with Mark Greaney a couple of times. All these top thriller authors. Simon Gervais is probably, I think if he's not already there, he's one of the world's top thriller writers right now. It just goes on and on. All these people have taken time to help me, even if it's just a silly question, or help me out with an interview, or for my blog, answer some questions. Yeah. Same with Eric Bishop, another author. We've helped each other so many times, it's ridiculous. So there's no such things as favors or helping anymore. So that part I really enjoy. The community is just amazing.
Yeah, I agree. I've had several authors take me under their wing and help me and mentor, and my current publisher, Lou Aronica, who's also an author in himself, has been a great mentor in helping in our writing career and what we do. So yeah, it's important. So what do you find inspirational in real world science, technology, and social issues that help you create your stories? What do you pull from to do that?
I believe right now it is, fear. Fear is a good one.
Yeah.
Everybody's afraid right now, worldwide, of what's going on with politics. I'm not going to name any particular country right now.
Yeah.
So to avoid any discussions, it's all
apolitical, not political.
I'm going to be vague on purpose right now.
Yeah.
There's always two things you never talk about, religion and politics, to get along with everybody. And that usually heads off 99% of the things. So another country's politics I'm going to avoid. However, for myself, I believe it's discovery. We're mankind. We're up. On technology, we know absolutely everything. And then 2 years ago, we just discovered a whole northern passage on the Great Pyramid that has not been opened for 3,500 years or something. And it's the breakthroughs and the discoveries. We're still discovering new creatures, new biospheres, everything. It's just star systems. We sent a satellite into space to take a sample off a meteorite traveling like 350 miles an hour, took a sample, and it came back to the planet. So we're studying that. Come on. That is science fiction come reality. So if that stuff isn't inspirational or give you an idea of...
we sent another satellite to the sun, and as it got close enough, it could actually record the sound of the solar winds coming, which was incredible. Because I didn't think there was any sound in space, but apparently around the sun there is. So it's pretty spooky sounding too.
That also gave rise to the old science fiction analogy of using solar sails to harness the solar winds. Increase speed through space travel. So, is that real? Well, it sounds like it could be viable too. So wormholes, all that good stuff.
So I think some of the authors I've been reading lately is Blake Crouch, because obviously Dark Matter and his series and that are just fantastic stories. I'm been picked up John Scalzi's books, The Old Man War series, and I bought the first one and his newest book, which I'm reading right now. So it's interesting to see how much authors grow from one book to another, right? So from your perspective, how have you changed from the beginning of you when you had a bad shoulder and you were just learning how, into what you do now?
Beginning of December, I talked to a young man who critiqued and gave me a review on my first novel. I guess it would have been my second novel, the first in the police novel series, which came right out after my first novel, and The Tipping Point, which is, by the way, absolutely free to download right now on Amazon until the 15th of March. So if you want a free book of mine, go on Amazon and check it out.
There you go. That's a good
horrible segue, but anyway, he read the first book, and then he just finished The Egyptian Enigma, and his first question to me was, "You wrote both books." He goes, "It was like night and day, two different authors. It's not even comparable how the growth was." And wow, as a writer, his review was good too. But that was his message to me, and that kind of put a little wind in the sails, so to speak. And I'll take the pat in the back. Yeah, thank you. That was outstanding, and I really appreciated it. So I feel it's like the book I'm working on right now. I just wrote like 4 or 5 chapters that were just so good, and I was pumped. The adrenaline was flowing. I felt like cheering. I was like, yeah, right on, let's do this, and I got this. So I think the quality's gotten better. The dedication, my motivation is still growing strong. So it's addictive. I can't stop.
Yeah.
Look, wait, if I won the lottery tonight, I won 100 million. Perfect.
Yeah.
I'm going to get up tomorrow morning, have a cup of coffee, and still type away at my story. So
that's the next thing when I retire. I'm just give me more time to write, right?
Yes.
My day job. So
right.
Yeah. So a lot of time travel stories, explore consequences of altering history. Do you explore that theme? Does that resonate in your time travel series?
Yes. The whole premise of the first book was a farmer found a piece of dark meteorite that fell on his property in 1794. And lo and behold, that a few fragments fell off, but he kept that meteorite, and then he gained the ability for time travel. He didn't use it for much, but it is what it is. His wife passed away, and no matter what he did, he couldn't bring her back. He couldn't alter his own past. So, cut to modern day, one of those pieces, those little fragments missing from that meteor, was stolen out of Fort Knox, a secret kept by the president since George Washington himself, before he was president. Anyway, that's how it all starts. And that farmer eventually works with an FBI agent to stop a black hole from destroying the planet. But no matter what they do, and they try everything, they can't stop the inevitable event. So throughout the story, you learn that the cause for the event was them constantly trying to change history. The old cause and effect.
Yeah.
So at the end of the story, well, there is I don't want to give it away.
Yeah, they stop right there, or
I was going to say,
you've given enough hook there for people to go, oh, that sounds interesting. So,
Everything's a result of their own actions, up to and including the meteorite first falling on that farmer's field.
Yeah.
So I do have, book 2 is out, and Edge of Time, and I've had no choice in the matter. I have to complete the trilogy, and it is called Edge of Eternity, or Edge of Infinity. There we go, sorry. So I have Edge of Time, Edge of Eternity, Edge of Infinity, and as to when the book 3 is coming out, I don't know. I got 3 other projects to finish this year, and then I'm going to start working on that January 2026.
So that kind of leads into the whole question about paradoxes. What's your favorite paradox? How are you handling that in your time travel series?
First, there's no such things as a paradox. That's the whole premise. So if you can accept that, then there is a cause and effect for every action, but you might not just know it at the time.
Yeah.
Now, the grandfather paradox, could I go back in time and kill my own grandfather? Okay, but what happens to my father if he's never born? If he's never born, I'm never born, and then I wouldn't be able to go back in time and kill him.
Yeah.
Well, as a writer, boys, there are 100 ways around that. Well, you find out that guy that went back in time to kill his grandfather, maybe he was adopted and they never told him. Boy, would that be a good glitch, Or, such things like that. So it's, the concepts are there. I've researched almost everyone, and I used almost everyone as well. So that part, I could there be a paradox? Of course. But as a writer, I don't like to paint myself in a corner that much. You got to give yourself an avenue of escape, or else